I'm going to give y'all a little bit of a summary because I believe that politically and also internationally, aside from the wars and what's going on in Israel and Ukraine, for 2023, this is something that I've been on top of the entire year. Now, I see a lot of other people want to participate in the conversation all of a sudden, and I think that that's good. Just make sure you give me credit for what it was I've been on top on for the entire year. That I told y'all that this is one of the most important issues that we was going to have to deal with this year. All right, but 2023 was basically the year of the migrant crisis. Take a look.
Right now, there are more than 26,000 people from the southern border seeking asylum in Chicago. They're at the center of a humanitarian crisis and a political tit-for-tat that only continues to escalate.
It was the waning days of Mayor Lori Lightfoot's term in late spring when migrants again started showing up in Chicago en masse, dropped off by buses personally sent by Texas Governor Greg Abbott. As she passed the reins of this sanctuary city to newly elected Mayor Brandon Johnson and pandemic-related restrictions at the border expired, asylum seekers flooded into Chicago.
Hey, remember when Lori Lightfoot was in office? It seemed like it was so long ago. It was only like 6 to 7, maybe at most 7.5, 8 months ago that Lori Lightfoot was in office. If y'all would have known that y'all was going to be dealing with what y'all dealing with right now, let me ask you a question. Would you would have rather reelected Lori Lightfoot? These are your only two options based off of my scenario, my hypothetical scenario. Would you would have rather reelected Lori Harvey, or would you would have rather had Brandon Johnson? I know it's the worst of both two evils. If you would have known, if you could have predicted how things was going to happen in Chicago for all my Chicagoans and people over there in Illinois, would you would have rather rolled with Lori Lightfoot 2.0 for a second term, or would you would have rather had Brandon Johnson for these last 7 months?
Nowhere to go and hundreds of them arriving each day. Migrants made refugee camps of Chicago police stations.
Muy difícil, muy difícil.
Families sprawled across floors in blankets among their few belongings. On his first full day in office, Mayor Johnson stopped at one of the city's first hastily established shelters at Petrosky Park in Little Village.
I'm going to work very hard to make sure that those who are seeking asylum are supported, but we also have to be very clear that there are families in the city of Chicago who have been ignored for a very long time, right?
Didn't that go out the window? Look at how much vigor he has in his voice. He's moving all fluidly, and he's having a good conversation, and he's talking with his hands. Now that boy sit like this. He be reading off his teleprompter. We have to make sure that we assist these migrants, and that man, Greg Abbott, is full of the devil. Look how flowing he is. Hairline was a little bit further down. Yeah, it's different now.
While this crisis may constitute an emergency for the city of Chicago,
obviously not Lori Harvey. Hey, Lori Harvey could have done a better job than Lori Lightfoot and Mayor Johnson, though.
does not constitute an emergency for the South Shore community.
The scene played out time and time again in neighborhoods in every corner of Chicago. Day and night, volunteers dropped off donations as newly minted city leaders scrambled to set up a shelter a week in schools, hotels, and churches.
Most of our programming will end tomorrow.
In some cases, that meant shuttering popular public parks by buses in downtown Chicago. In mid-October, with winter closing in, Mayor Johnson sent his top deputies and 3 city council members to Texas. ABC7 traveled along on the 3-city stop to San Antonio, McAllen, and Brownsville. A Halloween snowfall and a few bitter cold snaps left migrants shivering on Chicago sidewalks. The city's grand plan for a massive tent camp in Brighton Park aroused an intense backlash. The state scrapped the plans, deeming the site too toxic to be inhabited. The skeleton of the camp the city spent close to $1 million to prepare disappeared virtually overnight. And the city set a 60-day limit on shelter stays and began impounding buses violating city drop-off and permitting rules. An unannounced plane full of migrants from Texas touched down at O'Hare in late December.
Y'all can't even stunt when it comes to planes no more because the migrants got just as many selfies on their PJ as y'all do. Y'all can't even stunt with the selfie on a private plane at the Clearport no more, and Photoshop the background, because the homies over at the Migrant Crisis got just as many selfies on the PJ flying into Chicago as y'all do.
Oh, just this week, Mayor Johnson and the mayors of Denver and New York held a news conference requesting additional federal aid to help fight the migrant crisis, a crisis that's likely to continue into next year, costing Chicago and Illinois millions with human welfare at stake. Watch.
Today, a warning to Texas Republican Governor Greg Abbott. In a letter obtained by CBS News, the Department of Justice said it will sue the Lone Star State if it enforces a law signed by Abbott that makes illegal immigration a state crime and allows law enforcement officials there to arrest and prosecute migrants.
Think about what's happening. This is the latest news coming out of the Biden administration and the Department of Justice. Why is it important that Anton brings this to the forefront of the congregation? Well, not only do I want you to know how it's going to affect you personally, but the Department of Justice is looking to sue Greg Abbott in the state of Texas, not for even moving migrants across the country and spending dollars to get them on PJs or to get them over to New York or to Denver or to Chicago. They're looking to sue Texas and Governor Greg Abbott for allowing, I want y'all to be very clear, according to this news report, for allowing sheriffs, deputies, and police officers to arrest suspected illegal immigrants inside of the state of Texas. The Department of Justice is looking to sue the state of Texas and Governor Greg Abbott for allowing for police officers, sheriffs, and deputies to arrest suspected illegal immigrants inside of the state of Texas. They couldn't do nothing during the pandemic. They can't do anything in order to close off the borders. They won't do anything in order to help the residents or to make sure that they lower taxes, but they're looking to throw a lawsuit on the state of Texas. I want y'all to remember this, because come election time, don't say you weren't educated. Don't say you don't understand what's going on. Don't sit here and have a conversation with me about how you gonna run in the Victim Olympics or it's systematic. Don't say anything when they replace you in your jobs. I don't want to hear it when they're overpopulated or they start to have a bigger impact on the elections than you within your culture and you start to say we're left out. Don't say anything, because you get what you vote for, and we've been warning you for a long time now.
In New York City, Mayor Eric Adams is trying to set limits on the Texas governor's busing of migrants north. CBS's Astrid Martinez explains.
Buses are still rolling into New York City hours after U.S. officials met with Mexico's president, promising to work together to limit record migration. Leslie Hernandez and her family are from Colombia and arrived in New York City by bus. She told
I thought that y'all wanted to save money on flying back and forth with the passport bros.
CBS News, we do what we can, and we have to make sacrifices for a better future. Yesterday, New York City Mayor Eric Adams signed a new executive order to hold charter bus companies accountable.
We cannot allow buses with people needing our help to arrive without warning at any hour of day and night.
So now New York is basically following in the footsteps. Brandon Johnson is the leader of Denver and New York. Brandon Johnson is actually the mayor of New York now, because everything that Brandon Johnson is doing is the exact same thing that Eric Adams is doing over in New York.
The order requires bus companies give a 32-hour notice before coming, drop off migrants at designated locations and times, or face impounding and fines.
Idiots.
Power Malu greets migrants as they arrive and says the mayor's new executive order is causing chaos among advocacy groups.
And so what happens is we're tasked with people coming to us, asking us for services.
What was that, Busy Bone? Let me see something.
Arrive and says the mayor's new executive order is causing chaos among advocacy groups.
And so what happens is
It's the first of the month, so grab your checks and come on. Armed and dangerous, ain't too many that can bang with us. Straight off, we know angel dust. Label us notorious. Thug that love the bus is stranger us. Might be gambling, scrambling. Up at restaurants with mandolins and violins. We just sitting here trying to win, trying not to sin. High off weed and lots of gin. So much smoke need oxygen. Steadily counting them Benjamins. You should too if you knew what these games would do to you. Been in it since 92. Look at all the shit I've been through. So you don't know. Hold on. Let me get him. I know him when I see him. That's Busy Bone. That's Busy. That ain't nobody but Busy. That ain't nobody but Busy Bone. Hold on, let me get busy with an afro. Not gonna trick me into thinking that it's anybody but Busy Bone. I know Busy when I see him. Yeah. Shout out to Busy Bone. That's helping the migrants out here over here in Chicago. I didn't even think that y'all like Chicago because I thought that Cleveland was beefing with Chicago. Listen, I can't keep getting distracted. I got to focus on what I'm focusing on. Shout out to Busy Bone out there. Oh, God, Anton. For the love of money. Gotta get that money, man. That money, man, is still the same. Gotta get that money, man. Money, man.
We're tasked with people coming to us, asking us for services. I call this fabricated chaos.
New York City saw nearly 15,000 new arrivals this month, but it's not alone. Close to 2,000 in Chicago and 5,000 in Denver.
We have to look at dramatically reducing the amount of services we offered or dramatically cutting our city budgets.
But the Biden administration says it has provided more than $1 billion in grant funding for cities and towns hosting recently arrived migrants.
And I think the U.S. is pitching that this is a regional problem, not just a United States problem. Then we need to work together on this and that there are investments that we're prepared to make.
And tonight, CBS News has learned that migrant crossings.
Who is Astrid Martinez? Hold on. You right. Listen, Andre, it can never, listen, one thing that we not going to change on the Millionaire Morning Show is being easily distracted over here in these streets. I know we talking about very important subjects, but I need to know who Astrid Martinez is. And do we need to get her as a correspondent on the Millionaire Morning Show? Hey? Hold on. Give me a second, Tia. I'm a focus. I am focused. Did y'all know that she interviewed Tyler Perry? See, I'm focused. Y'all didn't know that she interviewed Tyler Perry? Give me a second. I just need to see what's going on with Astrid Martinez. Okay? Gosh. Give me a second. Let me see what's happening with Astrid. She got too many followers. If you want to holler at a chick on Instagram, you got to make sure you talk to. Okay. Her head a little bit bigger than I thought it was gonna be, but that might just be optics. That might just be. She kind of cute though. I think we can get her. She kind of looked like a Kardashian right there. You know what I'm saying? What y'all think? Yeah, she modern. She a modern one. Okay, I see you, Astrid. We gonna work on that. Hold on. Give me a second. Just real quick. Just want to see something. Hold on. Let me throw an emoji in there. I got you. Get my corrections in the migrant crisis, all right? Got that Grammarly popping. All right. We got it. We got it to get. Hold on, let me make sure I did that correctly. All right, we got it. We good. All right. Let me get back focused on what was happening with the migrant crisis. Where was we at? Let's just go over to the next clip, ladies and gentlemen.
It baffles me. New York City is the economic engine of the state and the country. And I don't have the answer. Cities should not be handling national problems. And so I don't have the real understanding of, I'm hoping that our national leaders understand that it come a real immigration reform, a decompression strategy, pick up the price tag of this issue.
Christidi CEO John Katsimatides joins us now. John, it baffles him. I don't really think that it should baffle him, given what we're seeing. He could easily.
Oh, okay. I know where we at now. Now this is a CEO. I'm on it. This is a CEO that basically is giving his opinion on how Eric Adams over in New York, the mayor of New York, is handling the migrant crisis. Okay.
And our status as a sanctuary city, and people would know they wouldn't get free stuff if they came here, and then it might stop until the federal government does its comprehensive immigration reform. What do you think?
There is no sanctuary city. That's a made-up situation. And he stood there and welcomed everybody in. And he thought, well, let's welcome the people in. Maybe I'm going to run for president someday. And that's a situation like that. And
so the CEO basically is saying, the CEOs and the people with power is basically saying that the play for a lot of these mayors in designating their cities as migrant cities was a political play to set them up for an opportunity to be able to become vice president or president one day or to move up in the political ranks. They were sourcing favors, and they were also playing to their demographics that would allow for them to be a little bit more electable because it shows that they understand, I don't know, international policy.
And when he decided to go to Washington meet the other 6 mayors to stir the pot, well, a funny thing happened to him on the way to Washington. As his plane was taking off, they were kicking him in the butt. Is that the nicest way I can say it?
Say that.
Saying that, see, why did you want to come to Washington and mess with our lives?
Right.
And but look, New York is under attack. Our country is under attack. Our borders are under attack. I mean, this is the worst situation. I'm 70 years old. This is the worst situation I've seen in 70 years.
But John, so Adams is going to D.C. and
He said he's 70 years old as a CEO. This is the worst thing he's ever seen in his lifetime. Remember, y'all, New York, they knocked down the towers. We had the pandemic. We had a lot of things. He's saying that this is the precursor to one of the worst things that he's ever seen in his 70 years as a CEO living on this earth.
complaining about Biden, but at the same time, the city is issuing 50% more NYC IDs this year than last year. So you've got migrants coming. No surprise, these IDs are going out the door because your immigration status doesn't matter. So, John, he can't go to D.C. and complain about policy and at the same time be rolling out the red carpet to benefits and work permits with these IDs.
Fine. Things are out of control.
Yeah.
They're out of control in New York City.
They literally awarded. Okay, so let me ask y'all a question because this is something that I'm not familiar with. Let me ask y'all a question. They've awarded a record number of IDs to migrants. 112,000 in 2023 alone. We have no clue of how many they awarded in 2022 or 2021 for that matter. Who knows? They've awarded 112,000 IDs. Are they also doing this over in Chicago and Denver and all of these other cities? Because, let me ask the question. Let me just ask the question because I don't know. I don't know everything. I know a lot, but I don't know everything. So if they award you an identification card, does that prevent you from being able to cast a vote? It's all that you need in order to cast a vote inside of the election, whether it be a local election or a national election. And again, I don't know because I've always been a U.S. citizen, so I don't have any insight into how that plays out. Is all you need an identification card in order to be able to vote? Somebody let me know in the comments. It said they can vote after 30 days. Yes, they are. Minnesota is giving them out now too. Of course, you can vote. NYC ID looks like a driver's license. No, state ID and an address is all you need. That's what I heard. That's why I'm asking a question, because I heard that a state ID and an address is all that you need. No SSI number, but got ID. If you don't vote, you're not American. It's all about the votes. Yes, they can vote. So it looks like we got some research to do. Got to be a legal citizen in Cali. They're basically selling out the city. What they need to register to vote, yes, and a residence. It looks like we don't know, y'all. We got to do some research. All right, so this is what I'm going to do. This is what I do, because it looks like we all confused, because none of us is really familiar with this. This is uncharted territory. Yes, Yakar, I know that you're supposed to be a citizen to vote, but what I found during the last election is that there was a lot of mail-in ballots, and there was a lot of misinformation with regard to what you need to vote. And then they were saying that, they don't want to prevent people from voting, and they was busing people over to the polls, and they didn't want to deny people the right to vote, but then they wanted to make sure that they counted the ballots late and stuff like that. So it was a lot of information that was flying around. And I know that you're supposed to be a citizen, but some people are saying that you can vote in a local election. Some people saying that all you need is an ID and a residence. So I want to make sure that we have all of the right information going forward so that we can give you guys some insight, because that may play into why they're letting so many people in here, and it may be multiple different reasons that benefit certain people as to why they are now being able to be coming in mass numbers.
They're out of control in Washington, and the American people have to realize enough is enough. I mean, the borders, when you got people coming in from Africa, you can't feed the entire world. You have to know who's coming and going.
17 just came in on the terror watch list.
So
they know that.
I want to get to your feeding point, because one of the things that Adams talks about.
Wait a minute. What is that? Why is this called the Big Money Show? Are they trying to be like the Millionaire Morning Show? They probably been around a lot longer than mine, but theirs look a little corny. Let's continue.
To the city because we're housing migrants, feeding them, educating, and healthcare. One way out is work permits. That's something that Adam's been pushing for. You employ a lot of people in New York City. Right now, there are 67,400 asylum seekers here in New York City. Should they all be working?
Here's the problem. How do I know if I'm hiring a murderer from Venezuela?
You don't.
You don't.
You don't.
And, you need checks and balances. Venezuela and some of these countries, they opened up their jails, they opened up their hospitals, and say, go to New York. They opened up their hospitals with all the gay people and said, New York has a cure for you. Go.
That's crazy. If that is true, if this is true as being reported by Fox News, if this is true, that's insane. That's insane. So basically, with regard to the migrant crisis, which is something that we've been covering the entire year, it's gotten worse before it's gotten better. And it looks like going into 2024, we have no resolution. They did a dog and pony show going over there to meet in Mexico, but they don't actually have any real resolution as to how we need to be moving differently or how we're going to solve for closing off our borders and then not letting migrants come into this country undocumented.